I read Women Talking right about the time that the Me Too movement was starting to codify itself. It wasn't surprising news, but it was a movement that was kind of building in a more organized way, in a more politically active way, and a more perhaps a movement that had some kind of uh, practical end and of some kind of justice being served. So I thought I was getting very confused about the conversation and how I felt about what was happening, talking with my friends about it. And when I read Miriam's novel, which opened up the debate of what happens after, what is the future of gender politics in our world, that made me think, oh, this is something that I want to see. It's a nuanced and a humorous and a intellectual debate about the possibilities for the future and not just the chasm of doubt. The thing I think that surprised me the most is that uh, my initial instinct for the film was much smaller and more intimate and rustic than Sarah. From the beginning, she said, "I see this as epic. It's time for women's stories to be epic. It's time for them to be shot gloriously, complicate in a complicated and a kind of filmic and cinematic with a great kind of grandeur, cinematic grandeur and beauty, which I think she and Luke really captured. And that the idea that it wasn't so much about it being pretty, but it being epic. It was an epic story and it needed that kind of treatment. It just kind of grew into a really organic process of finding people who responded to the script, responded to the book, responded to her vision of the film, and then stuck with it during the pandemic, held on, held on through a really long process and stayed committed to it. But I also think, these are consummate performers and they're also theatrically trained performers. Almost all of the people in that loft have done theater. So they come from that kind of ethos. They come from that kind of technical background that you create an ensemble and you depend on the ensemble because that's where your strength lies. That's something I really, really love about, myself, Dee Dee, and Sarah. We represent these three kind of decades of women in film. Sarah's in her 40s, Dee Dee's in her 50s, I'm in my 60s. We're kind of this sweet pocket where things really started to change. And I've worked on, I don't know how many films I've done, 35, 40, and at least 15 of them have been female filmmakers.